My name is Simon Peter. One day my partners and I were cleaning our nets after a long, hard night of fishing. We were tired and discouraged, but we had nothing to show for our efforts. Jesus was preaching, as usual, to the many people who follow him from here to there, listening to his every word. He asked if he could sit on my boat, and I rowed him out a little so his voice would carry. When he had finished teaching, he asked me to row out a little further and cast my nets again. I told him it was pointless. We'd worked all night and caught nothing. But I did as he asked. And then, astonishingly, so many fish. Our nets broke as we tried to pull them in. So many fish, we filled both our ships until they began to sink from the weight of them. I then fell down on my knees before the Lord, feeling sinful and faithless. He then told me that I would no longer catch fish, but men. I left my life, my fish, my boats to follow Jesus. I left everything and have never looked back. Tonight, he tells us one of these 12 men, his faithful disciples, will betray him. I vainly promised to follow him even to death. Then he looked into my eyes, said, "Before the rooster crows, I'll deny him 3 times." Could I lose my Lord, my friend, because I'm not strong enough to be faithful? Is it I?
I've been known as Peter's little brother Andrew since the day I was born. Years ago, I left the fishing business to follow that fiery preacher, John the Baptizer. He was anointed by God to prepare the way for the long-awaited Messiah, and now I follow him. I love to bring people to Jesus. I brought my brother to Jesus, and I've watched him grow and become a strong leader among us. I brought the little boy with the lunch of 5 loaves and 2 fish to Jesus. I've even brought Gentiles to meet the Master, because he is open and loving to anyone who is searching for the truth. But Jesus has enemies in high places, enemies who would love to silence him, or even see him die. And he speaks of a betrayer in our midst. Oh, please do not let it be me who brings sorrow to my Lord. Jesus, is it I?
I am James the Lesser, known as such to describe my stature and set apart myself from the many other men named James. Since joining Jesus' group of followers, I've seen many miraculous things. Jesus has the power to calm the sea. Even the wind and the rain obey his voice. Jesus has the power to cast out demons. He has cast out evil spirits and given us the power to do the same in his name. Jesus has the power of healing. He has healed those who've suffered with disease for years and even from birth. Beyond this, he has the power to forgive sins. And now, one of these men sitting at this dinner table, one who eats and drinks with him, is going to betray him. How can anyone doubt that he is Lord, the Messiah, after walking and talking with him, after seeing prophecies fulfilled, miracle after miracle, proof after proof? He has called each of us to follow. Who could turn away? Is it I?
My name is James. John is my younger brother. We used to work in the fishing industry with Peter and Andrew. Jesus called us to follow him the same day that he called Peter, and we did, thinking that he would establish his kingdom on earth and that we would be his right-hand men. Jesus calls John and me the sons of thunder. Actually, we are the sons of Zebedee, a rich and powerful man in this community who is a personal friend to some of the more influential religious leaders. At one time, I had hoped that this would assure me of a position of authority in the new kingdom. After all, it was we who were called to the mountain with Jesus, and we saw him transfigured. His face shone like the sun, and the voice of God spoke out of heaven. He chose me. He chose each of us. How could one of us betray him? We have seen his perfect adherence to the law. We have heard the voice of God say, "This is my son." We have seen countless miracles, healings, works no mere man could accomplish. Could it be my brother John? Could it be me? Is it I?
I am Matthew, and before I became a disciple of Jesus, I worked for the Roman government collecting taxes. I took advantage of one of the perks of this profession and skimmed a little off the top for my own personal use. Listening to Jesus, I came to realize I'd committed a sin against my neighbors. I took advantage of those people. I cheated them. I became wealthy by stealing their hard-earned wages and goods. My heart has changed since then because of Jesus. I even threw a huge feast at my home and invited others that worked for that corrupt organization to come and meet him and perhaps be changed as well. But now, he speaks of a traitor among us. Will others suspect me, a known publican, a sinner? Lord, is it I?
Before Jesus called me, I was a member of the Zealots. We believe in God and God alone is over the holy nation of Israel. We refuse to pay homage and taxes to any Roman governor. It goes against my nature, but Jesus teaches that God ordains all powers and authority to rule over us, and we are to pay what is due and treat them with respect. Since following to Christ, I have tried to channel all my zeal in telling others about Jesus, bringing others into the kingdom. Is there a spy among us? A Roman perhaps? How could any follower of Jesus question his power and authority? He is great. He is God. He is God. He's our King. He's greater than any governor. Could I revert to my old ways? Could I, Simon, betray my King? Is it I?
I am known as Bartholomew to some, Nathaniel to others. I've been a diligent student of the Scriptures and a disciple of John the Baptizer. My friend Philip first told me about this Jesus of Nazareth, saying he was the one whom the prophets had written. At first I was skeptical. Nazareth? What a filthy, immoral place. Can anything good come out of Nazareth? But John said Jesus was the one who was sent to take away the sins of the world. Well, then I met Jesus. He seemed to know me already, to know my most innermost thoughts. Although I've always been a devout man, Jesus was offering me something more intimate, more personal than my religion had ever offered. For over 1,000 years, we have been celebrating this feast of the Passover, remembering the bitter slavery in Egypt with the bitter herbs, remembering the 10 plagues with the 10 drops from the goblet, remembering how the blood of the sacrificed lamb caused the death angel to pass over the Israelites and spare their firstborn, remembering how God set his people free. What a wonderful story. How they had no time to flee with leavened bread. They had to bake unleavened bread in the warmth of the sun. Now Jesus takes this unleavened bread and says, "This is my body." He shares this cup and said, "This is my blood. Do this in remembrance of me." I don't understand. What could make me betray my friend? Lord, is it I?
My name is Philip. Jesus came to me one day while I was working and said simply, "Follow me." I spent an entire day with him, and I was convinced this is truly the promised one. It has taken some time for me to understand that this man, this fulfilled promise, is actually God here among us. Recently, thousands of men, women, and families were sitting on the hillside listening to him teach. Jesus asked me where we could buy bread to feed them all. At once, I thought only of the actual physical cost of such a venture. Why, our treasury does not hold such funds. I gave no thought to the people's discomfort or to the possibility of a divine miracle. But Jesus took 5 tiny pieces of bread and 2 tiny fish, prayed over them, and broke them into pieces. He fed thousands that day, and we collected 12 baskets full of leftovers. Imagine God among us. Who would deny the promised one, this divine presence in our midst? And to whom would this person deliver Jesus? To the vain and arrogant priests who refuse to believe that God has fulfilled his promise? Or to the pagan Roman government that fears a rival ruler? Could any one of us forget his power, his compassion? Could I forget? Is it I?
His hands, carpenter hands, rough, weathered hands, and yet so loving, gentle. His hands reached out and touched a leper, and the disease was erased from his body. His hands reached out and touched Pierre's mother-in-law, and her fever disappeared. His hands reached out and lifted Jairus' daughter from her deathbed. His hands have restored hearing to the deaf and sight to the blind and mended the bones of the lame. Countless illnesses, infirmities, and deformities gone. His hands reached out, beckoning little children when others would have turned them aside. His hands reached down, rescuing Peter from a churning sea that would have swallowed him. His hands folding in prayer, blessing and breaking bread. Such simple gestures, and yet so profound. Those hands that have shown mercy and kindness, given love and healing. Those hands that have served me, Thaddeus, and his other brothers. They're the hands of God in this very room. All of us have received blessing from his hands. All of us have seen the miracles those hands can achieve. Who of us could betray him to the hands of an enemy? Could I, Thaddeus, betray him? Is it I?
I am John, the beloved disciple. Beloved, loved by Jesus, loved by the one who is in the beginning with God, and loved by the one who is greater than all of us. And yet he washes our feet, setting an example of servitude and humility. And you might think that I have reason to be proud because Jesus calls me his beloved disciple. But oh, how I've learned that the opposite is true. I once thought that I was hold a position of power and prestige in his kingdom. But he has shown me over and over again that the war that he wages is a spiritual battle. He reaches out to the needy paupers. He does not seek out the rich and powerful. He dines in the homes of sinners and common folk, not the elite. I've seen him both befriend a well-known Pharisee and an immoral woman, forgiving both of them. God has sent his Son because he loved the world, the lowly, me, so much. So much that he does not want any one of us to perish, to have everlasting life. This Jesus, he is the way, he is the truth, he is life. Even though we are his closest friends and followers, I do not think that we truly understand the depth of his love. I know that he would give his life for mine. I truly believe. But would I do the same? Will my pride cause me to stumble? Will I betray him? Could I? Is it I?
I have been listening to Jesus speak tonight around this table, and I simply do not understand. Words meant to comfort, but words met with confusion and misunderstanding. Talk of betrayal met with incredulity and suspicion. Where is he going? There is so much yet to be done right here, right now. Sometimes I marvel that I, Thomas, have seen him with my own eyes. I have touched my Lord and Master with my own hands. I've watched him perform wonders, change lives. I don't want him to go away. Not now, not ever. And how can we follow him if we don't know where he's going? Is there something that I have done or will do that will contribute to this betrayal he speaks of? Has he seen my lack of faith, my hidden doubts, my fear? Is it I?
I'm Judas Iscariot, the treasurer for this group. I have followed Jesus, but I'm growing tired of his reluctance to stand up against our oppressors. I believe he is who he says he is, but why would God send a Messiah for this? To wash feet and serve bread? I have no need for a spiritual king. We need a political king. Someone to rise up and overthrow these Roman tyrants. Thousands of people follow him over mountainsides and across rivers to hear him speak. Surely he can put together an army in no time. Something must be done to force him to make his move, to lead us to victory, to establish the new kingdom. A betrayer among us indeed. These men sit around this table wondering, guessing, accusing. Some of them even sit here and ponder their own motivations. But why do they sit here like sheep, waiting for a shepherd? Someone must do something. Well, I have. Tonight the elders and chief priests will help me help him usher in the promised kingdom. History will thank me for this. Oh yes, someone has betrayed him. Perhaps all of us will do so before the night is over. Master, is it I?
His children.